Welcome back to Carolina This Week. Joining me now is Greg Duckworth, a Republican running for the State House District 104 seat, currently held by Tracy Edge, who is seeking re-election himself. And House District 104 covers most of North Myrtle Beach.
Well, it does. It actually covers all of North Myrtle Beach and a little sliver of Briarcliff, all the way up into Little River, all of Little River, out Highway 9 towards Loris, but not Loris, but some of the bedroom communities nearby. Yeah.
Greg, who are you and why are you running for it?
Well, first of all, I wanted to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here to talk with you. We're running a grassroots campaign, and when you do that, every little opportunity to reach out and talk with the people is wonderful. A little bit about myself. I grew up, I was born in West Virginia. My mother was a school teacher her whole career, and my father was a war hero. As I was growing up, I grew up in scouting. Scouting meant a lot to me, and I believe it made me the person I am today. As a matter of fact, there's a bumper sticker out there that says, "America is returning to the values that scouting never left," and that kind of means something. I think it means a lot to a lot of different people across this country.
I never made it past tenderfoot, but I really loved scouting. I had a good time doing it.
Well, see, yeah. There you go. Scouting, I will say I was lucky enough to have parents and a mother that pushed me along the way and encouraged me to make it to Eagle Scout. But scouting at any level, whether you made it through tenderfoot or any other rank, does a great thing for a youth person. And my wife Chrissy and I moved to North Myrtle Beach 22 years ago, and we've been raising our sons here. They were both born here. And when they became of age, I felt like it would be important to give back to the program that meant so much for me, and so I got involved with the scouting program as they got into scouting as boys. And I'm happy to say that they're both now Eagle Scouts as well. And but in addition to that part of my life, when I did move here 22 years ago, I started a small business. It's a land planning and landscape architecture company called Environmental Concepts. The thing about starting your own business is it takes a lot of discipline and hard work ethic, and I feel like those sorts of day-to-day challenges that you have as a business owner helped me understand what it meant to have conservative values, and it kind of shaped my viewpoint on political aspects in that regard. I also was on city council in North Myrtle Beach for 3 4-year terms. I retired in December. I felt like it was time to let somebody else have a ride on that horse, and in doing so, I think it also kind of reflects the intent of our founding fathers to serve and be effective while you're there, but then move on in life.
Let's talk about some of the issues, and one of the big things I think that people look to their local and state politicians for is infrastructure.
Yeah.
What type of infrastructure needs would you like to see addressed in District 104? Let's start with roads, because roads are so important. Of course, 22 would be turning into 73 if plans go forward down the road. Do you support I-73? Is that something that you think should happen?
Yeah, I do, and I'm glad you pointed that out. I think if you were to look at the 2 potential interstate highways that will ultimately and hopefully come to our area, it's logical to me that 73 would come first and then 74 after. I feel like if you're to see 74 happen before 73, that 73 might not happen as quickly. So I think the progression would be 73 and then 74. Yeah.
What other infrastructure needs? What other needs as a state leader would you want to see addressed in your district?
All right. Well, when you think about infrastructure, you think about things like roads, water, and sewer. Mm-hmm. But I think there's other foundations that we need to look to build as policymakers here in our state, and particularly here in our region. If you look to other successful parts of South Carolina, our peers in, say, for example, Greenville or maybe Charleston or Beaufort. But let's take Greenville as an example, because if you look in the media right now and the exciting things that are happening up there with the BMW plant, and you ask yourself, well, why can't we have those sorts of things here in our area? And I think it starts with those sorts of infrastructure conversations that we're having right now. And if you don't lay the groundwork with the proper foundation, those things can't happen. And I'd like to see us as a local delegation from the Grand Strand be able to go to Columbia and communicate and work well together to achieve the foundation that's necessary to see the successes that are happening in other parts of South Carolina happen here as well.
Well, we're seeing a lot of jobs coming to Horry County right now, particularly out in the western portion where the gun business is picking up. And then, of course, tourism's always going to be there. What other jobs, what kind of jobs, what kind of industry would you like to see lured to District 104 in particular?
All right, well, I think that if you were to look at what we have as an industry now, and the number one industry being tourism, we need to find industries that would be complementary and not something that would necessarily go against what we have as our number one industry in South Carolina. And going back to laying the foundation, the number one thing we have to do first is build our intellectual capital here, because if we're going to bring jobs that would maybe complement our region of the state, we have to have the workforce here. And in order to do that, we need to identify the types of jobs, maybe they're tech jobs or something like that, but you just can't say, hey, let's bring this here. We have to have a workforce that's ready to go. We have to have a chain of workers that are trained properly for those types of jobs. So it's having an open or a big tent type of atmosphere for that to happen. And when I say big tent atmosphere, that means I'm not the smartest person in the room. That means that you and I talk, or whomever else within the district talk together and identify what we think are the appropriate needs for our area. And then we would reach out to the institutions of education in our area and we say, look, these are the goals we want to achieve for the future. How can we get there? And then we work together to achieve those goals.
Let's talk about something that a lot of people complain about, or some people think we don't have enough of: regulation. How do you feel about regulation? Do we have too much regulation? Do we have regulation in places where we don't need it, and maybe no regulation in places where it is needed?
That question could be all over the board. I will just say this, that as an answer, that we need to understand that government has a place, but the place for government is to create the atmosphere for things to happen, not to stifle progress. And I believe that government in this district, in this area where we live, needs to create an atmosphere that will support the entrepreneurial spirit. We need to have an atmosphere that will identify the types of jobs that we're looking for, but not try to insert themselves into the equation, because sometimes it's best to let free enterprise dictate that process.
Last question for you.
Yeah.
I don't live in District 104, but if I did, why should I vote for you?
Why should I vote for me? Well, because I care about the area and I want to see it grow, and I want to see it grow wisely while protecting our quality of life. I think that it's important that people realize that when my opponent was first elected, gas was $1.22 a gallon and stamps were 32 cents. We appreciate the service he's given, but I believe it's time for new leadership with creative ideas. And the other thing is if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And the gap right now between low and high paying jobs is vast in our area. And I believe that after 18 years of the same thing, it's time for a new vision in Columbia.
All right. Greg Duckworth, Republican candidate for District 104. Thanks for being with me this morning.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with more.